It's the National Football League on CBS Sports from the Superdome in New Orleans. It's the Cleveland Browns and the New Orleans Saints. Moments ago, Sammy Knight and the Saints introduced in front of close to 70,000 fans. A very important game for both teams. New Orleans chasing Tampa. They're facing Green Bay today, and New Orleans trying to stay in front of the Atlanta Falcons, who they lost to last week. As for the Browns, 5-5, they're right in the hunt for the division lead. A half game behind Pittsburgh, who plays Cincinnati today. Coming up, the Browns and the Saints on CBS. 90, ready to watch the Browns and the Saints from the Superdome. The series note, the new Browns got their first win against the Saints back in 1999, 21-16. A Tim Couch to Kevin Johnson touchdown pass at the end of the game. And the Browns have won the toss, have elected to receive the football. Toby Goen sending it away. Back deep, Andre Davis. And Jackson. Saints and the Browns. And this one, an onside kick to start the game. Did it go 10 yards? Did it go 10 yards?
And Gus, I actually think it was recovered at about the 9-yard mark. That's what they look like at spotting it right now. And definitely a great surprise coming out of the gate. Caught the Browns off guard, that's for sure. But as we know, an onside kick has to go 10 yards before it can be touched or recovered by the kicking team.
Tom White, your referee today. So he will have a conference with the officials. And already an interesting beginning to this game. And back in 1999, as we mentioned, it had an interesting ending, as the Browns recorded their first win since coming back to the NFL with that 56-yard Hail Mary to Kevin Johnson as time expired.
An illegal touch. New Orleans, number 39. This occurred at the 39-yard line. Therefore, it is a short free kick. By rule, we'll re-kick the ball. 5-yard penalty.
So the ball has to go 10 yards.
And you're going to watch that ball kick to the left side of your screen. You're going to see Keo Craver get up and get that ball, and it's tough to tell from that angle. And here's going to be a better look at it, Gus. That ball's got to go to the 40. There's the 40-yard line right here. And you see definitely he is not there yet. Right here, getting the ball at the 39-yard line. And just a 5-yard penalty if you're the recovering team with an illegal touch call.
So now the Saints will probably kick it away as Goen tees it up at the 25 instead of the 30. Browns with an excellent opportunity to get good field position. They play great special teams, as their head coach Butch Davis told us yesterday. It's one of the positive signs on their team. So here we go again. And this time Goen kicks it away. Andre Davis from the 4. Davis stumbling forward, gets up to the 28-yard line, a 25-yard return. Brings on Tim Couch. Last week he hit 9 different receivers in their 27-20 win over Cincinnati. He's thrown 7 touchdowns in his last 3 games. The line protecting him: Furba, Stokes, Willaba, O'Hara, and Zucker. The backs and receivers, the young guy out of Boston College with 96 yards rushing, Kevin Johnson, normally the go-to guy, but they've been spreading it around to guys like Morgan and Campbell. First down and 10 at the 29, empty backfield for the Browns. Underneath, the ball caught Guess who? Quincy Morgan with the reception, a gain of 8 yards. Sammy Knight laying the wood. And they say it's a gain of actually 11. Defensively for the Saints, they allowed a season-low 292 yards versus Atlanta last week. Howard, Jackson Smith, and Whitehead. The linebackers led by Smith, Clemens, and Hodge, and in the secondary, hard-hitting Sammy Knight is the safety along with Bellamy. Carter is back along with Thomas. First down and 10 at the 40. Tim Couch passing again, looks for the slant. Ball broken up at the last moment. Dale Carter reaching in and knocking it away. And this is a big matchup. Dale Carter.
And Dale Carter on anybody's a big matchup. Very good bump and run, very aggressive, can turn his hips. You see him get that left arm in, the off arm to knock that ball away. Very aggressive corner. Told us here he's getting the rust off, getting back in the mix and feeling good.
Carter has battled substance abuse problems his entire career, and he's been suspended. Finally coming back. Feels good. Here's the handoff. William Green is swarmed under at the 35. Grady Jackson. Shady Grady, 6th year out of Knoxville with the big tackle.
And Grady Jackson was brought in here for that express reason. Get penetration, stop the run. And the Saints defense has been a little inconsistent this year stopping the run. They started off good, but they've kind of had a lull during the middle of the season. And these last 6 games, they have got to turn it up because their offense putting some points on the board, but defense has to stand up and rise to the occasion.
Third down, 13 at the 37. Last week versus Cincinnati, the Browns converted 11 of 18 third down opportunities. They need to go to midfield for a first down. Here's Couch under pressure, firing, intercepted. Dale Carter. Carter down the sideline. And Dale Carter tiptoes out of bounds at the 35. A 27-yard return.
And Gus, I think we're going to see Tim Couch get hit and that ball sail. Kevin Johnson was running a skinny post, and that ball just sailed on Tim Couch, got hung up there, and Dale Carter was right on the spot. And you see Tim Couch try to step up, get that front foot into it, gets hit. And there's Kevin Johnson on the deep end route, and you see that ball just sail right over his head, and Dale Carter waiting on that ball, just having to fair catch it.
So the Saints take over their first offensive series at the Cleveland 37. First down and 10. Fenderson in the backfield. Here's Brooks, the pass on first down underneath, and it's caught at the 32. Boo Williams with the reception. Aaron Brooks, the numbers last week versus Atlanta. He's tied for the league lead in touchdown passes with 21, along with Tom Brady from the New England Patriots. The line, the wild man Turley, Jaycox, Fontenot, Falau, and Riley. The backs end receivers, Deuce McAllister. Starting this game, he has a high ankle sprain. It's very tender, and he was a game-time decision. Second down, 4 at the 31. But McAllister not in the lineup right now. Fenderson is. Here's Brooks firing underneath the stop. Joe Horn steps out of bounds at the 15. A 14-yard gain. Defensively for Cleveland, they held Corey Dillon to 92 yards rushing, 30 yards below his career average versus the Browns. Courtney Brown still looking for more pressure on the quarterback, Roy, Warren, and Lang. The linebackers, led by Dwayne Rudd, along with Earl Holmes, the former Steeler, and Hambrick. And in the secondary, hard-hitting, Griffith is one safety, along with Little, McCutcheon, and Fuller are on the corner. First down and 10 at the 17. And this time, Curtis Keaton, former Cincinnati Bengal, third carry of the year, a 2-yard pickup. The young man out of James Madison. And so I would assume, Brent, that the activation of Deuce McAllister was kind of a deke move for Coach Haslett and the Saints.
You're right, Gus. A little bit of a decoy action. Of course, the Browns having to prepare to face Deuce McAllister, but not a heavy dose of Deuce thus far. And the Browns are going to probably be looking at Keaton all day along with Fenderson.
Second down and 8 at the Cleveland 15. McAllister leading the league in rushing. Here's Brooks all day to throw. all day. Look at Brooks just standing in the pocket and finally whizzing it out of bounds. And Deuce McAllister just putting up unbelievable numbers this season, averaging close to 5 yards per carry. Has rushed for 950 yards and 9 touchdowns. And look at Deuce, and the other guys have combined this season coming into this game for 8 carries.
Yeah, not a whole lot of carries right there, Gus. And James Fenderson is the fellow that Jim Haslett told us will probably get more snaps just because he's been involved in the offense longer. He was on the practice squad last year and a little bit more familiar with the blocking scheme.
Second year out of Hawaii. Here's Brooks firing underneath, incomplete. Whoa! And there is a player down on the field. What a hit by Boyer. That is what you call a decleater. I believe it's Jerome Pathan on the field.
And Gus, one of the challenges when you go across the middle of the field, you got to be able to sit down versus zone coverage. And you might have had a man-to-man look, but you see Pathan keep running across, and Boyer's coming across, sitting in zone. And that's one of those challenges. Sometimes you get a man look, a guy running with you, but a linebacker sitting right in the middle of the field. You got to have your eyes up when you come across.
Brant Boyer, who is a third down specialist. Let's listen to this hit. Wow. So we'll take a timeout. Jerome Pathan still on the field. Jerome Pathan walked off the field on his own after taking that hard hit from Brant Boyer. And it looks like Pathan may be able to continue. There's Boyer on the sideline. John Carney now coming into the game ready to attempt a field goal for the Saints. And on the season, the former Charger is 17 of 19. As long of 48 yards. This one from 33 yards out. Goen is the holder. They get it down, it's up, and perfect. John Carney splitting the upright. And the Saints take a 3-0 lead. Cafe Du Monde, one of New Orleans' institutions, known for their great beignets. Over 24 hours, 7 days a week. Check that out. And how about Emerald Delmonico's, where we had a chance to visit the other day?
Well, that was great.
Maybe one of the best restaurants I've ever been to in my life, as this ball is kicked out of the end zone. So the Browns will start from their own 20. The drive for New Orleans, 6 plays, 22 yards, and it's capped off by that 33-yard John Carney field goal. Tim Couch trots back onto the field after throwing the interception to Dale Carter. And Couch came into this game having thrown 7 touchdowns in his last 3 games to only 3 interceptions. And
a big part of that's been his protection that the low line has given him. Darren Howard, defensive end from the Saints, got some pressure on a stunt, and Tim Couch wasn't able to step into that pass, and it sailed on him.
First down and 10 at the 20. Keep hiding in motion. They hand it off to their running back, and this is Green. Spinning forward, gets to the 26-yard line, and William Green, the rookie out of Boston College, a native of Atlantic City. He talked to you yesterday, Brent, and this is an impressive, kind-hearted young man.
What a great young man, and a lot of pressure being the #1 pick, and just starting to come into his own, I think. And of course, played on turf at Boston College. This is the Browns' only AstroTurf game of the year. I just feel like this could be a big breakout game for him.
2nd and 5 at the 25. Here's the reverse. Kevin Johnson looking to throw it. Nobody home, and it's almost picked off. Darren Smith had 2 hands on the football. The Browns coming close to turning it over for the 2nd time today.
And Kevin Johnson, who's got a pretty strong arm, rolling out of the pocket and getting some pressure on the reverse, and almost threw it into Darren Smith's hands. Saints did not go for this fake at all. Safety stayed deep on Quincy Morgan. You can see at the top of your camera there, and Kevin Johnson rather, trying to get rid of that ball, almost threw it into Darren Smith's hand.
Kevin Johnson went to Syracuse as a quarterback, but There was a guy there by the name of Donovan McNabb who is just a little bit better. Here's Couch on 3rd and 5, standing in the pocket, knocked away at the last moment. Craver coming in and knocking it away, and the New Orleans defense looks strong to start this game.
And that's the type of defense the Saints are going to have to play down the stretch, and it just seems like things have been shaken up a little bit on that defensive front. Of course, Norman Hand, their defensive tackle, benched this week by Coach Jim Haslett, and that really sends a message, Gus, especially when a veteran like that gets sat down. Guys start looking around and saying, hey, I better pick up my play.
Michael Lewis, the dangerous punt return man, stands at the 32 as Chris Gardocki prepares to send it away. They are resetting the 25-second clock. Chris Gardocki stands at his own 10. Low snap, handled, high wobbly kick. Lewis backpedaling to the 26. And Lewis taken down at the 32. Hyden and Boyer. A 49-yard punt and a 6-yard return. Get breaking NFL news, exclusive analysis, and team power rankings. It's all at CBSSportsLine.com or on America Online. Enter keyword CBS Sports Line. Saints with a 3-0 lead and the ball, 1st and 10 at their own 33. Play action. Brooks setting up, firing the deep ball down the field, incomplete. Dante Stallworth, the closest man to the football, and Earl Little, starting safety, was back deep.
And he's running back down the field telling Dante, don't even think about it. Dalen McCutcheon, step for step down the sideline, and Earl Little having to spin around and catch a fair catch. But shoot, he could have caught that one. Needs to catch that one. And those are the things, those are the little things that you say throughout that playoff stretch. Hey, we've got to make every play that is possible, and that was one he should have had. 2nd and 10 at the 33. Here's the handoff. Keaton breaks it back, fumbles the ball, and I believe he pounced on it. And wait a minute, the officials are saying that the Browns have it. Well, I know Kennard Lang got a hand on that ball, and you don't see any excitement from the Browns defense, and that usually means the Saints still have it. Well, the official pointed the other way. Boy, another unlucky break. Drop an interception and have a ball on the ground and have the offense come up with it. You see Kennard Lang right there get that hand in, and Courtney Brown losing the battle for the ball. 3rd down and 6 at the 37. They need to go to the 43. Brooks in the pocket, and Brooks is taken down. Mark Word. Word sacking Brooks. And the Saints will be forced to punt. When we do the Browns, Mark Word shows up every time. Huge. Watch this coming outside. Kyle Turley still pushing, still grinding, gets an arm on Aaron Brooks' shoulder. And that's going to be a big key for this Browns playoff stretch. Pressure from that front group. Haven't been able to generate a lot this year. Going, punting from his own 15. This one off the side of his foot, takes a good bounce. Northcutt fields it at the 25. Flags on the play. And he goes down to the 27-yard line. A 45-yard punt and a 3-yard return. Hauser coming up with the tackle on special teams. Last time we had Mark Word, he had a couple of sacks versus Houston at home. And he was coming up the line of scrimmage like he was shot out of a cannon, just obsessed with getting to the quarterback, and that's what this Browns front group needs more of.
Holding. Receiving team. During the kick, that penalty being enforced in the spot where they gained possession, 10 yards, be a first down for Cleveland. Timeout.
Mark Word has his 7th sack of the season to lead the Browns. 3-0 the score. Welcome back to the Dome here in New Orleans. The Browns have the football at their own 15, down by 3. First and 10. They hand it off William Green over the left side, and Green powering forward, gets close to the 20. Second down and 7 at the 18. Green lines up as the deep back. Kevin Johnson goes in motion. Count sprinting out, throws on the run. Johnson has it at the 20. He'll be about 5 yards short of the first down. And it was interesting. Yesterday when we talked to Butch Davis, and Davis came in and he said, you know, people are saying that Kevin Johnson is having a subpar year, but that's actually not the case. Other guys on that wide receiver core are starting to step up.
And we talked at the very beginning of the season that this Browns offense needed to develop other weapons. And we call them the 4 deuces. And I mean, they all second-round draft choices and making a significant impact across the league. And they are starting to become known. The Saints talked about these receivers and the depth and the impact that these guys can have. Just getting better every week.
Third down 4. Couch in trouble, and Couch is sacked once again. Flag on the play. Charles Grant with the sack. And Cleveland says it's against New Orleans. Yes, it is. Offside. So a first down coming up for the Browns.
Offside. Number 21. Defense. It's a 5-yard penalty. That's a first down.
Dale Carter lining up offside.
And we talk about receivers not being able to jump, but a cornerback can't cross that neutral zone too. Dale Carter obviously still a little rusty. He's got to know better than that. This Saints team had 16 penalties last week against the Falcons. Really cost them 133 yards in penalties. And you got to play smart down the stretch if you're going to be a playoff team.
First down 10 at the 26. Play action, Couch setting up. He's got a wide open Morgan. Morgan with the catch down the sideline, out of bounds at the 30. Quincy Morgan running the deep out pattern, and Tim Couch put that one right on the button.
And this is what William Green's 96 yards last week can do for an offense, Gus. This Cleveland Brown hasn't had a whole lot of play action success because they haven't had a running game. You see the nice fake inside? Watch what happens. Linebacker, safety comes stepping up. You see that? Holy cow, Quincy Morgan running free to the corner. Tim Couch putting it right on the numbers. That's what a play-action game can do for you, and it's all the result of William Green last week.
A gain of 46. William Green straight ahead, dives forward, stretching it out. And when William was having problems earlier during the season, he had his starting job taken away from him by Jamel White. He would call his grandmother, and she doesn't know a lot about football, he told us. She's still in Atlantic City, and she said, son, I don't know a lot about football, but just have the strength of Samson and the speed of the wind. Just keep those positive thoughts in your mind.
That's a good combo to have. I wish I had those two.
Second and 9 at the 27. The strength of Samson and the speed of the wind for William Green.
And I think, Gus, once again, the Saints were moving.
Encroachment. Number 90. Defense. It's a 5-yard penalty. Remains second down.
Number 90, Kenny Smith.
And what happens when you jump off sides? Pointed to his jersey and said, me?
You get out of there.
Yeah, he's anxious, and he's replacing Norman Hand today. A little anxious. Kenny Smith really starting to turn it on the last few weeks and really making some progress on that defensive front.
Browns knocking on the door. Second and 4 at the New Orleans 22. Handing it off to Green and nowhere to run. He may have gotten back to the line of scrimmage, Norman Hand.
And I think it's the correct move to keep pounding the ball right now if you're the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, it's still just a 3-point game, and we saw what the play action did, and sooner or later, William Green's going to get some some free turf, and he can just motor. The quickness and the quick feet in this young man are so impressive, and Butch Davis was going on and on about him. Of course, liked him enough to make him their first-round draft choice this last year.
And more importantly, Coach Davis continuing to believe in the young man. 3rd down and 4 at the 22. Couch steps up, incomplete. A flag on the play. Somebody may have jumped offside.
And I think Charlie Clemens, coming from the outside, might have been offside.
He got a great jump, didn't he?
You know what? You just don't see teams jumping off sides playing at home in the Dome. You don't have the crowd noise. You don't have issues, especially the defense. And we talked about the penalties last week that just killed the Saints.
Offside. Number 56 defense. It's a 5-yard penalty. It's a first down.
Right here, Charlie Clemens, and you got to credit Tim Couch and the Browns for their discipline. You see him just get a quick jump, and it looks like the Browns must be going on a hard count. Gus, a little hut. How do you like that? That got you to jump over there.
I can tell you didn't play quarterback.
Well, the Saints are jumping all over it, and so something in Tim Couch's voice inflection is making a move.
Here's Green, stopping, starting, bouncing it outside, gets around the corner, lowers his shoulder. Did he get in? Down at the 1, but an impressive piece of running for the rookie out of Boston College.
And I have goosebumps because he was going left and flat out stopped and got started so quickly. It was unbelievable. And I thought he might have gotten in. Watch this stop right here and watch the explosion, Gus, as he accelerates back across the field right by Darren Smith. Hey, these guys are saying, hey, where did this young man get that speed? Lowers his shoulder and shoot, I'm not sure he got in, that he didn't get in. Look at the power. Delivering the blow, and they might have stepped out at the 1, and that's my guess.
So the Browns called timeout. 4:23 to go in the first. Saints up 3-0. Browns have it, first down and goal at the 1. Play action. Couch dancing out of the pocket, looking in the back of the end zone. Incomplete. Green was there. And that will bring up 2nd and goal.
And you know, I think Tim Couch is looking for Darnell Sanders, the tight end. He's going to go to the corner, then stop and come back. But when you're throwing across your body, Tim Couch knows this. You got to put a little extra zip on it. That ball hung up a little bit, and Hodge almost intercepted it.
Cedric Hodge holding him.
That's not holding. That's just a little touch.
There's no such thing as holding on a tight end. 2nd down and goal at the 1. Green trying to get in, and he comes up short. Running over the left side.
And Browns having tough going down inside against these big hogs of the Saints. And
Norman Hand in on the play.
The Browns defense had a big goal line stand last week against the Bengals, stopping Corey Dillon a couple times. And this time they're on the other end. Big 3rd down right here, Gus. And maybe this is the time where you use that play action once again.
3rd down goal at the 1. The Saints have not given up a point in the first quarter in 7 of 10 games this year, including the last 3. Green again. Touchdown, Cleveland. William Green. His 2nd rushing touchdown of the year.
Just going over the right side, over center Dave Wollaball, right guard Sean O'Hara. And he just had such a huge head of steam, and you see the push right inside here. He was not going to be denied. An impressive series for the young back out of Boston College.
The 46-yard completion, Couch to Quincy Morgan, along with that amazing run by Green. 9 plays, 85 yards, 5:17 eaten up on the clock. 7-3 Browns. William Green off to a very nice beginning. 8 carries, 24 yards, and a touchdown as you take a look at the scoring drive. And the Browns take the lead. Cleveland sending it away. Michael Lewis camps under it at the 5. And Lewis collared and ridden out of bounds close to the 30. Michael Jameson for the Browns. Getting a hand on him may have been a face mask. A 27-yard return.
And even if he didn't get a face mask, once you get that arm up on the helmet, right in the front, even if it's on top of the helmet, they're going to call a face mask. You see, that's what Butch is saying. Hey, his hand was right on top of the helmet. He didn't grab mask.
Personal foul. Face mask. Cleveland, 15 yards. First down.
So a 15-yard penalty.
And Butch Davis grabbing the top of his head saying, hey, he didn't get face mask, although, Coach, things happen in a bang-bang fashion. That
Think he did
pretty
get
darn close.
a handful of Michael Lewis's face mask.
But, boy, once that hand goes up on top of the head and the neck comes back, they're going to call it every time.
Saints start at the 47 and some movement on the offensive line of New Orleans. Pushing and shoving going on. Middle of the field, it's Earl Holmes and Terrell Smith.
We were talking before about that goal line stand by the Cleveland Browns. Earl Holmes made a couple of huge tackles on Corey Dillon last week.
False start. Number 71. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Remains. First down.
Spencer Falau, the former Raven.
And Gus, we talked about the Saints and their 16 penalties last week. Coming to this point in the season, what we used to call the dash for the cash, those last 6 games, you've got to start paying attention to the little minute details. You can't be having ridiculous penalties. You see the Saints off to a great penalty start already.
First down at 15 at the 42. Here's the handoff. Curtis Keaton looking for a hole. And Keaton gets up to the 44. Monday on CBS is an all-new night of America's Best Television, starting with The King of Queens, followed by Yes Dear, then Everybody Loves Raymond, Still Standing, CSI Miami, and Late Show with David Letterman. Monday here on CBS, America's most watched network. Second down, 13 for the Saints, playing without their star tailback, Deuce McAllister, who has a high right ankle sprain. Aaron Brooks underneath. It's caught. The tight end, David Sloan, rumbling forward. He gets to the 44, a gain of 14, but a flag on the play.
And nobody was covering David Sloan. In fact, he caught the ball and braced himself for a hit, and nobody was around. He paused actually a half a second and got upfield, and just an uncovered tight end. Kind of the forgotten guy in this big play Saints offense.
A first down and 10 at the 42. Keaton over the left side. And Keaton ridden down at the 40. Orpheus Roy hopping on his back after a 2-yard pickup.
And Curtis Keaton, more of a slasher, quick feet, has some explosiveness to him. We had him in Cincinnati, and Coach Haslett said he came over here and he said the Bengals numbering system was all backwards. Mostly the 2, 4, and 6 holes are to the right. Almost every team around the league, the Bengals actually had those to the left. And goes without saying, insert your favorite Bengals joke here.
Second down and 8 at the 40. Play action, Brooks. Underneath, caught Joe Horn. Shot down at the 25. A pickup of 15 for Mr. First Down. Earl Little.
And when we talked to Joe Horn, he was on his best behavior, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
It was fun talking to Joe Horn. And Joe,
because he didn't talk.
He loves the ball. I think he had got taken to the woodshed earlier in the week. Coach Haslett, he was questioning some of the play calling last week. Thought they were running it too much with Deuce McAllister out of the game, and they didn't start airing it out until the 4th quarter. But Joe was on his best behavior, and hey, I love guys like Joe. Want the ball, want to win, want to be aggressive.
First and 10 at the 25. Brooks all day to throw again. Underneath the spot. Beautiful catch up top by Boo Williams. Williams lost his hat but held on to the ball. The second-year man out of Arkansas picks up 13.
And Jim Haslett was bragging about Boo Williams being kind of the perfect fit for this West Coast style of offense. You're going to see him running a basic cross right here at the bottom of your screen, coming across into the vision lanes of Aaron Brooks, hitting him on stride. So much focus on this Saints offense goes to their big play outside receivers, that a tight end with some speed and some hands can really do some damage. We saw David Sloan catch a 14-yard pass earlier in this drive, and now Big Boo Williams, who can run a little bit quicker.
Defense. Penalty is declined. They'll take the result of the play. It's a first down.
Illegal contact was called against the defense. It's declined. There's Coach Haslett, native of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Played for many years with the Buffalo Bills. Wrapped up his career with the Jets.
And if I'm the Cleveland Browns right now, I'm not going for that play-action fake. I'd have to say that Keaton has to do some more things. Fenderson have to do some more things before we start biting on that play action. I'd be more concerned about playing the pass and getting a pass rush.
Reset the game clock to 42 seconds, please. Thank you.
I think Tom White's got more airtime than me today.
Yes, he has. But how good is this young man?
So good. Maybe the most underappreciated quarterback right now in the National Football League. 21 touchdown passes coming into the game, and he's got a lot of confidence. And got some good stories about Aaron Brooks, and you called him out when he walked into the room yesterday.
Oh, I was giving him a hard time. First down and 10 at the 12. Play action again. Brooks steps up, trying to make people miss, and he goes down at the 11. Kennard Lang catching him.
And I was just saying that. Don't bite on the play action. The Browns didn't drop deep in their zones and got some pass rush pressure. Without Deuce McAllister in there, I don't think he can be falling for the run until one of these other guys does something big.
So that takes us to the end of the first quarter with the score Cleveland 7, New Orleans 3. We'll be back to New Orleans after these messages. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Browns with the 7-3 lead as we begin the second quarter. However, New Orleans has it second down and 9 at the Cleveland 11.
And Gus, this is a time where you can really utilize a pass-catching tight end down inside this red zone where you don't get as good as a stretch with the speed outside.
Smith and Keaton line up in the I formation. Keaton running outside, breaks it in, and goes down inside the 9. And Deuce McAllister remaining on the sideline. He came out before the game, tried to loosen up that ankle. He was a game-time decision. And here he is, Deuce, at about 10 a.m. this morning, New Orleans time. And you can tell he had some problems cutting on that ankle. But they activated him anyway.
They did, and you could see him dragging that ankle, and maybe it was just a little bit of the decoy scenario, but after 1 or 2 plays, that goes out the window.
Third down, 6 at the 8. Brooks firing into the back of the end zone, incomplete. Good job by the Browns defense, bending but not breaking. Courtney Brown with the pressure on Brooks.
And let's watch the coverage looking for Boo Williams, and I think Dalen McCutcheon just staying in his zone. A little bit of a mismatch height-wise, but everybody's covered right here. And then the pressure to Aaron Brooks. He's got to get rid of that ball, and that's what the Browns need more of. And nice little stand inside the red zone there for the Browns defense.
Brings on John Carney to attempt a 28-yard field goal. He's already made one from 33 yards out. It's up and good. Perfect again for John Carney. 14:06 to go in the second quarter. The Browns with a 1-point lead. The Browns lead the Saints here in the second quarter. Gus Johnson along with Brent Jones and Toby Goen ready to tee it up at the 30. Back deep, Andre Davis. Owens sending it away, and from the 5, Davis takes off. And he is wrapped up and dropped at the 21 after a 16-yard return. Gus Johnson and Brett Jones with you. What's your impression of the ball game thus far here in the second quarter?
Well, I think the Browns came out more disciplined, more focused on the task at hand. Obviously, the defense bent but didn't break, giving up 2 field goals. But not a lot of penalties, some smart play. I haven't actually lit it up yet, but had a nice big play action fake. Quincy Morgan, they seem like that they're the team right now that has some momentum.
First down and 10 for Cleveland. Their own 21. Play action. Couch throwing the bomb for Kevin Johnson. Incomplete. And Johnson taken down at the end. Dale Carter running stride for stride with him. And Dale Carter gets up limping.
And I'm not so sure that Dale Carter didn't interfere with Kevin Johnson at the end of the play. Actually, their feet just get tangled up. That's not interference. It's incidental contact, but they both go down hard.
Carter staying in the game. He has a slight limp. 2nd and 10. Let's see if the Browns recognize it as the play clock winds down. And they don't get it off in time.
When sometimes those things happen when you throw those long passes, you got to wait for your receivers to get back up and get back to the huddle, and it took a while to get that play in.
After the ball was made ready for play, it was inadvertently bumped by a New Orleans player, therefore causing the delay. There is no infraction on this play.
Okay. Coach Haslett's reaction.
Hey, he did not swear, though. That's the good news.
When he puts his hands up to his face, that's when you know.
Don't give away his secrets.
2nd and 10. At the 21, William Green running straight ahead. Huge opening for Green. Splitting the defense, getting up to the 45. Jay Bellamy with the tackle. And if this continues, they're going to have to put turf in Cleveland Browns Stadium.
And you can do that stuff. It's called field turf. And Gus, just for William Green's sake, I'll put in the first $5,000. I'll write a check. You see William Green exploding through the hole and almost got through the safeties. This type of speed and quickness isn't seen that much. And he almost got by those guys. You see the ankle tackles.
A 23-yard run. 47 yards rushing for Green on 9 carries. Play action. Couch bounces out of the pocket. Tim Couch tiptoes out of bounds at the 47. A pickup of 3.
So how much you putting in for the Browns turf? I heard you go strangely silent.
That's not my job.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm not putting in anything. But William Green may give up some of his signing bonus to get some turf in there in Cleveland. He looks terrific starting out in this game, and it was amazing yesterday. I've been working with you for 4 years, and the young man, so nice, and comes in and says, "Mr. Jones, can I have an autograph?" I almost lost it right there. They wanted your autograph. 2nd down and 7 at the 47. Couch flicking it underneath, incomplete. Andre Davis, the intended receivers. And when you look at this Cleveland squad, they have a lot of young, very impressive players on this team.
Very talented at the skill position, and done a tremendous job of going ahead and making things happen. And you just got to be so impressed with these young players, knowing the playbook, their smarts, the way that they adjust to coverage, the way that they make things happen. Of course, William Green talking about how much smarter he's gotten picking up pass protection and spending so much time watching film and staying in the playbook.
3rd down, 7 at the 47. They need to go to the New Orleans 46 for a first down. Tim Couch underneath, caught by Kevin Johnson. He won't get the first down. He's hogtied and taken down by guess who? Dale Carter. And Dale Carter misses a bunch of games because of suspension. He immediately comes back, and he's the best D-back on the team.
Actually, he is, and he's one of the best D-backs in the league. And you see him making the big tackle right there on Kevin Johnson, coming across on that drag route. And Dale Carter really is an added boost to this Saints defense because he is a shutdown corner. You can just put him on an island and say, hey, we can play coverage away from him.
Ardaki, the left-footed punter, pops it up in the air. Beautiful spiraling punt. And it's fair caught at the 15. A 34-yard punt, pinning New Orleans inside their own 20. Browns with a 1-point lead. The St. Louis Cathedral, located at Jackson Square. It is the oldest cathedral in North America, originally built in 1724. Saints with the football at their own 16, first down and 10. They hand it off over the left side, swarmed under. Log on to NFL.com and help pick the NFL All-Star. And the lineup, cast your vote for the 2003 Pro Bowl squads now only at NFL.com or on America Online. Enter keyword NFL.com.
We're going to get some penetration by that Browns defense. You see 3 or 4 guys back beyond the line of scrimmage. Whenever you get that penetration, get off your blockers, good things are going to happen.
Second down, 13 from the 13. Brooks fires. Is it caught? Yes, it is. Michael Lewis.
Because Michael Lewis is in the game, of course, the kick returner, and he's in the game because Jerome Pathan got drilled here in the first quarter by Brant Boyer and has a mild concussion, hasn't come back into the game. Let's watch Michael Lewis. We know what he can do returning the ball. Great effort, and I'm not so sure that ball didn't hit the ground.
Looks like it did.
Extended well and laid out and rolled his arms under it. He got the call right now.
Cleveland electing not to challenge the play. First and 10 at the 27. Brooks backs up underneath Fenderson with the catch. Dives forward and gets to the 30. Dalen McCutcheon with the tackle on the play. And Jerome Pathan on the sideline. Took a big shot from Brant Boyer. And we talked a mild concussion.
We talked at the top of the show about the Deuce McAllister deke. But they deactivated, to keep McAllister on the active roster, they deactivated Jake Reed. And so they're a receiver down, and that's one of those deals that can come back and backfire on you.
Second down, 7 at the 30. Fenderson, nowhere to go, and this Cleveland team playing well up front. At front 7, doing a good job against the run.
You know, and Butch Davis was telling us how this team is finally getting healthy. A lot of injuries to starters this year, and we spent some time with Robert Griffith. He is really an impact player on their defense, kind of the enforcer at strong safety, and just a sure tackler, and he'll hit you if he comes across the middle. So I think that bodes well for this defense down the stretch if they stay healthy.
Browns defense limiting New Orleans to 14 yards rushing on 8 carries. That's 1.7 yards per carry. Timeout New Orleans. 9:15 to go in the second. Browns with a 1-point lead. .9:15 remaining in the second quarter. The Browns have a 7-6 lead over the Saints. Third down and 4 for the Saints at the 33. They're 0 for 3 on third down conversions. And they need to go to the 37 for a first down. Fenderson in motion out of the backfield. Empty backfield for Brooks, who fires. It's caught. And a first down, flag on the play at the 45. Boo Williams with yet another grab. This time a gain of 12.
And I think they're going to call holding on Devin Bush. And we talked about what a quick receiving tight end can do in this West Coast offense, and so much of the focus on the speed receivers outside.
Holding. Number 25, defense. Penalties decline. First down.
Corey Fuller.
Yeah, and I actually think it's Devin Bush. Corey Fuller got a raw deal right there. You see right here inside, it's actually 23 on Boo Williams. And a nice shot on Aaron Brooks.
Boy,
Orpheus Roy getting them back there.
First down at the 45. Brooks trying to set up a screen and just downs it. Just fires it at the feet of James Fenderson. Orpheus Roy getting some pressure.
And that's not grounding, Gus. If you're setting up a screen and you throw it at the back's feet, that's allowed nowadays. But Orpheus Roy, 2 times in a row, getting some good pressure on Aaron Brooks. And we saw Orpheus Roy over the years with the Steelers make an impact. And you got to get this front group of the Browns going. And today, thus far, they've been playing very well. Maybe the best we've seen them all year. Getting a lot of pressure against this Saints offense that has been generally pretty consistent all season.
Brooks 8 of 13, 91 yards. Second down and 10 at the 45. Brooks again. Over the middle. Caught. Lewis squares his shoulders down the sideline. Finally out of bounds at the 15. A 41-yard gallop by Michael Lewis.
And Gus, I think Mark Word was the one in charge of Michael Lewis. At least he was the closest defender in the area. Let's watch if Mark Word's not dropping in zone coverage. There he is right here, the big defensive lineman. That's our director, Mark Grant. That's one of his favorite things. Big defensive tackles dropping in coverage, and you can see what happens when that happens. Get a receiver matched up on you, and it's all over.
First and 10 at the 14, and the pitch going to Keaton. And Keaton going down at the 13, and the Saints this season have 19 plays of at least 30 yards or more this year. With that big reception by Lewis.
And you know, the Browns aren't what you'd classify as a blitzing team. Brought the blitz, the zone blitz on that play, and got gashed by it. Jim Haslett had the right play call on. And Michael Lewis, we saw Jerome Pathan go to the sideline with that hit, but Michael Lewis has come up with a couple of key plays in this offense.
Second down, 9 at the 13. They take the pitch. Brooks rolls, loses it. Is that a live ball? Let's see. Was his arm coming forward? The Browns say they have it and do. Brooks cocking his arm, and the ball just slipping out of his hand.
And that's the key, Gus. If it slipped out without his arm going forward, it would be a fumble. I'm sure Jim Haslett's going to challenge this, because if that ball looks like it's going to be thrown, oh, you see it. And you know why, Gus? Because the ball slipped out before, when it was cocked going back. The arm hadn't started forward. If his arm had started forward, that would have been the old tuck rule. We've seen that a couple times. And Jim Haslett's going to challenge this, but that ball slips out while Aaron Brooks was cocking the ball back. The officials right on top of that one. That's such a tough call. We've seen some controversy. We had a tuck call here a few weeks ago, and of course the Patriots and the Raiders last year in that snowy game in New England, and the ruling for the Patriots when Tom Brady brought that ball down.
New Orleans has challenged the ruling on the field that this is a fumble.
The key, Gus, is the arm starting forward, and you see that ball slip out before Aaron Brooks' arm started forward. And that is the correct call.
Pretty much a bang-bang play, Brent.
The bang-bang play. The official's right on top of it, because I thought initially it came out going forward, and that's a great look. Great job by our camera guys. And, you know, not a lot is talked about Courtney Brown, but he does a great job of not going with the fake, staying home, defensive end staying home, putting pressure on Aaron Brooks, not allowing him to have that space outside. And you see that ball come out right with him cocking that arm. The ball just slips out on the way back.
And Courtney Brown also recovering the fumble, so he's gotten a couple of pressures today and a fumble recovery. Very quick review for Tom White.
After reviewing the play, the quarterback comes back and attempts to pass the ball. As he brings it up like this, before it starts forward, the ball comes out of his hand. It's a fumble. New Orleans is charged with a timeout.
So the Browns catch a break, and the Saints lose a timeout. Another look at it.
And the officials called it right on the spot. And luckily that whistle didn't blow, and great patience by the officials to not blow that whistle. And you see that loose ball sliding out when Aaron Brooks was cocking his arm back. And sometimes during the course of the game that ball gets slippery. You don't think about wiping your hands or wiping the ball. And that's exactly what happened. Big turnover for this Cleveland Browns team.
First down and 10 for the Browns at their own 16. There's Butch Davis. His team coming off a nice win over Cincinnati. Been in a lot of tight games this year. A handoff to Green. And Green trying to get to the 20, gets to about the 18. Brady Jackson with the tackle. This week on The Late Show, Dave's all new with Ray Romano, Liza Minnelli, and George Clooney. And Monday, don't miss Lisa Kudrow plus all new Stupid Pet Tricks. It's all new all this week on The Late Show, right here on CBS.
You got any pets?
No, unfortunately not. You, my partner that I carry around with me every weekend. Second down and 7 at the 19. Hyden in motion. Inside handoff. Green again lowers his shoulder and is gobbled up by Norman Hand, who's listed at 310. But I think Big Norm is a little heavier than 310. Hand and Jackson and all those guys up front. Martin Chase.
Are you saying they're all heavier than they're listing?
For some reason, I have a feeling.
Wow, you are a brave guy.
A half ton of fun. Norman Hand listed at 310, but more like 365.
More like, and look at you're adding everybody's weight in that. When these guys come looking for you, I'm going to show them the way. I did not say any of that.
Third down and 4 at the 22. Couch out of the gun, over the middle, caught. Dennis Northcutt at the 30. Picks up the first down, a gain of 9. And what a season for Dennis Northcutt.
And a lot of people around Cleveland are saying that Dennis Northcutt might be the most valuable player on this Browns team, not even a starting wide receiver. He has just progressed so much in his third year from Arizona, and just the confidence that this young man has and belief in his ability. And he does such a great job going in and out of routes, and he's got great speed, great cutting ability. But really the thing that's been the key for him is his consistency catching the ball. He has been really solid and making great strides this year.
Such an unselfish player as well. Timeout called by the Browns. Play clock winding down. They now have 1 remaining. 5:16 to go. Browns hold on to a 1-point lead. And coming up on the Nextel Halftime Report, join Jim, Dion, Dan, and Boomer for all the scores and highlights. That's coming up on the Nextel Halftime Report. First down and 10 for the Cleveland Browns at their own 30. Up by 1. Couch sprinting out of the pocket, looks backside, nobody home. Finally dumps it off to his tight end, and Hyden dives forward, gets close to the 35, picks up about 4 yards on the play. Make that Mark Campbell with the reception.
And Mark Campbell does a great job of just staying in on his block. And then he feels Tim Couch not throwing the ball. You see right here, watch him at the very end. Hey, if I can't block him, get a pass out of the deal. I love that. I used to do that. Anything for a catch, 3-yard catch.
Couch thus far 6 of 12, 76 yards with an interception. 2nd and 6 at the 34. Short drop, fires. That one deflected at the line of scrimmage. Intended for Quincy Morgan.
And we've talked about all these receivers for the Browns. Haven't talked a lot about Quincy Morgan. And he's having a big impact this year. Lots of yards per catch and big play. Smooth, graceful, big wide receiver. Elegant when he goes up to grab that ball.
43 catches coming into this game for 617 yards and 4 receiving touchdowns. Third down and 6 at the 34. They're 2 of 5 on third down conversion. New Orleans showing blitz. Couch taken down. Jay Bellamy coming from the corner. And Tim Couch is sacked, and the Browns forced to punt. That's the first sack of the day for the Saints.
And the wide receivers have to realize that's a hot read situation. Jay Bellamy's going to come right in front, right from this side of the screen. Tim Couch is staring right at him. He knows it's coming. He's looking. His receivers don't get their head around. He has to eat the ball.
Browns punted away. Lewis. That one tipped. That's a live football, and the Browns have it again. At the 35, Lewis muffing it, and Cleveland takes over. Andre Davis with the recovery.
And we continue to see the Saints come up with bonehead plays. Michael Lewis, that's way too short to try to field. Bounces right off his hands. Brown's right on top of it. We saw the ball slip out of Aaron Brooks' hands. A lot of penalties. And Gus, I'm just wondering if this Saints team isn't still fretting about that loss to the Falcons last week and or looking ahead to the Tampa Bay Bucks game next week.
I got the feeling that they were overlooking this Cleveland team and looking forward to Tampa next week here in New Orleans. Play action. Couch firing to the corner. Broken up at the last moment. Ken Irvin, the former Buffalo Bill, stepping in.
And Ken Irvin step for step with Quincy Morgan off the play action to the corner. And Ken Irvin had a pick just go right through his hands. And he knows it.
Irvin in his 8th season out of Memphis. Second down 10 at the 36 for the Browns. Time winding down in the first half. Empty backfield. They hand it off to Northcutt. Dennis Northcutt down the sideline. See you later. Touchdown Cleveland. yards. Dennis Northcutt continues to excite. And now the Browns have a 13-6 lead.
And I don't know if I've ever seen a draw to a wide receiver. And when a play happens like that, you get big yards on a run downfield. Somebody at wide receiver is making a big block. And I'm anxious to see that replay because somebody made a big block to spring Dennis Northcutt.
The young man out of Dorsey High School in Los Angeles, California, with a 36-yard run. Extra point is up and good. Dennis Northcutt gives the Browns a 14-6 lead with under 4 minutes to go in the second.
And Gus, you had mentioned empty backfield, and you see Northcutt's going to just motion right into here to the deep spot position. Little draw action. And there it is, Frishman Jackson right there holding up the safety. That was the block. You see Andre Davis downfield as well, getting a shoulder into somebody. And Dennis Northcutt untouched. A draw to the wide receiver. Here's the block. There's Frishman Jackson. See, that allows for this hole to open up. Watch up top. You see Andre Davis dive and take a shot at the corner. Ken Irvin, just enough to let Dennis Northcutt ramble down the sidelines. And we had just said there's a lot of people around Cleveland thinking that Dennis Northcutt might be the most valuable player on this Browns team.
His mom, Benita, has been working at the post office in Los Angeles, right across the street from the University of Southern California, for 17 years. He said, "Mom, do you want to retire?" She said, "No, I want to get my extra 3 years, get my pension, and then you can retire me twice."
She's earning it.
Yes, she is. Usually comes to the home games in Cleveland.
And we asked him, why didn't you go to University of Southern California? He said, I wanted to.
But they didn't want me. Browns send it away. Lewis, very dangerous from the 7. And he is crunched. Taken out of bounds. Chris Akins. Nicely done after a 16-yard return. Thanksgiving Day will take you to Motown for a long-time holiday tradition. When the Patriots take on the Lions, the excitement begins at noon Eastern with Jim, Dion, Dan, and Boomer on the NFL Today Thanksgiving Day on CBS.
So the Saints digging a hole for themselves as they have the ball now at their own 25. First down and 10. Fenderson, the lone setback, play action. Brooks looking underneath. There's a strike. Lewis breaks it open. Lewis cuts it back and goes down at the 15. Michael Lewis having a great first half.
And how about the receiving skills of Michael Lewis? Because Jerome Pathan's out of the game. But Michael Lewis just putting on a clinic out there. And you know what happens when he gets the ball in the open field. You see him slide back in, go on the basic cross route. And Robert Griffith, from the top of your screen, saves a touchdown. He is going to catch Michael Lewis and make him cut back right there and make the tackle. And that could be instrumental. That is a heck of an effort by Robert Griffith.
Lewis, 3 catches, 114 yards, and this New Orleans native used to drive a beer truck here in New Orleans. What a story. Got a tryout with the Saints. His agent called up and said, hey, I got a guy, he's pretty fast. Do you want to take a look? He ran like a 4.1, and all of a sudden the Saints were interested.
Do you know how many guys I've run into over the years that, you know, are working on the loading docks or driving a truck and say, hey, I could play, I can make something happen. I run a 4.2. Michael Lewis actually does. And look at this speed. He's pulling away from everybody other than Robert Griffith.
Who had an angle.
He did have an angle, but he was motoring.
Now don't forget tonight on 60 Minutes, while it may be a surprise to you that the FBI isn't all it's cracked up to be, it won't surprise you that Billy Crystal is. Both stories tonight on 60 Minutes. Lewis has a big game coming. First down and 10 at the 16. And they run it. Curtis Keaton. So Lewis has catches of 14, 41, and 59 yards. Lard Warren with the tackle.
Well, they have some potent playmakers here on the Saints offense, even without Deuce McAllister in there.
But they certainly miss Deuce, leading rusher in the league and second on this team in receptions behind Horn, who's been quiet today. 2nd and 6 at the 12. Play action. Brooks in the end zone, incomplete. Looking for Dante Stallworth, the impressive rookie out of Tennessee.
Boy, Aaron Brooks did one heck of a job on that play action, hiding the ball. I barely saw it at his hip. He hit it. The Browns didn't find it. Stallworth came open in the end zone. I'm wondering if that ball wasn't tipped. You see him just stand there. And the ball is tipped.
Earl Holmes.
And Earl Holmes.
That makes it 3rd down and 6 at the 12. James Fenderson in the backfield. Goes in motion. Brooks underneath. Incomplete. Threw that one a little too high for Lewis. And that will bring up 4th down. Here comes John Carney. Fans not pleased with the production of their team here in New Orleans.
And Aaron Brooks delivers that just a little bit behind Michael Lewis and high, but I don't know if he was going anywhere as well. Earl Little was right on the spot. You got to throw at least for the first down at that point. I think they would have been a little short.
This one from 30 yards for John Carney. Perfect on the day. Make it 3 for 3. But a flag.
And I'm not wondering, Gus, I'm wondering if the Browns didn't use illegal leverage to get up and try to block that kick, which will be an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty and give the Saints a first down. And we've had some dumb plays this year. Of course, Dwayne Rudd throwing his helmet that cost the Browns earlier this season. But I saw somebody getting out of the corner of my eye, getting some extra height. And I'm wondering if that isn't the call.
I believe you're 100% right. Fontenot saying we want the first down.
He has leverage. Number 90 defense will be half the distance to the goal, and that will be a first down.
A numbskull play by Kennard Lang.
And you just don't need to do dumb stuff like that. You know you can't do it. Let's watch the middle of the line here. Right there, and you see the push. You know what, Gus? I'm not so sure that they need to call that. I've seen leverage before.
That's usually when somebody's jumping on top of someone.
Or climbing up somebody's back, trying to jump on a teammate's back or down low. And that was a pretty questionable call at this point in the game. Saints, of course, taking points off the board.
Saints have it at the Cleveland 6. Brooks fires that one incomplete. Courtney Brown getting to him again. Courtney Brown has had an outstanding first half. Sterling performance by Brown. He has 3 quarterback pressures as well as a fumble recovery. So with 2 minutes to go, Browns on top 14-6, but the Saints drive it. Kennard Lang pleading his case to the coaches on the sideline. Here's why.
And I apologize to Kennard. He didn't do anything wrong. He shoots the gap right here. He's going to hit a Saints player's arm and get tossed up in the air. Hey, he's just trying to break through and get to the kicker and block that ball. He's not using his own players as leverage. Hey, if you jump and a guy's arm lifts you up, that's a raw deal. That's exactly what Kennard's saying right now. How they call that on
upset.
me?
Yeah.
I don't blame him.
Will be vindicated when they watch the film on Monday.
It doesn't help, though, if they score a touchdown right here.
Second and goal at the 6. They flip it out. Henderson can't get in. That'll bring up 3rd down and goal. Corey Fuller with the tackle. And this is the kind of situation where you miss a Deuce McAllister.
Absolutely. Big bruising back with speed, pounding it up inside. You see the Saints trying to create some lanes. Fenderson catching the ball out of the backfield. The Browns weren't folding. Big 3rd down play right here. And we talked about the Browns last week. Their goal line defense has been pretty darn solid for a couple weeks.
3rd down conversions. Here's Brooks, wants to run, followed up, Stanford picked up! Great job by Anthony Henry! And once again, the Browns bend, but don't break. Anthony Henry stepping in, forcing the 3rd turnover of the game for the Saints.
And Anthony Henry getting his first pick. And what a great job of catching this bullet, but to have the sense to get his feet in right on the sideline. You see him drag that 2nd foot. Boy, that was awful close. And Gus, in the last 2 minutes, they're going to go ahead and review that in the booth. There's one. Does he get that 2nd foot down? Boy, that is close to the white. And it's tough to tell from that angle. But you got to give so much credit to this Browns defense.
Tim Couch with 1:45 to go. And Couch is running forward, and I believe the Saints jumped offside. New Orleans with no timeouts remaining. Cleveland has 1.
False start. Number 81, offense. They half the distance to the goal and remains 1st down.
So it's Quincy Morgan. Here's another look at the interception. Did he get 2 feet in, Brent?
Well, he's got one. It was called in on the field. It's whether this left foot. There it is.
Got it in.
Right on top of it.
And replay confirmed it. They looked at the play. Anthony Henry, who had 10 interceptions last year. And nicely done.
The happiest guy beside Anthony Henry
is Kennard Lang.
Darn right.
New Orleans with 3 first-half turnovers. Couch sneaking it forward. Saints can't stop the clock at this point. And if you're Cleveland, You'll take it. Heading into the locker room with a 14-6 lead on the road.
Absolutely. On the road, all the momentum. The Saints obviously came out flat. And these type of bend but don't break stands by the Cleveland defense. Butch Davis can really ignite a team for the rest of the season. We saw what happened last week in Cincinnati and came away with a big win and carrying it over today against the Saints. But that can really be a hallmark for your team down the playoff stretch.
Second down. Once again, Couch goes forward. Now don't forget, coming up on the Nextel halftime report, join Jim and company for all the scores and highlights that's coming up on the Nextel halftime report. Saints are out of timeouts, so the clock cannot be stopped by New Orleans. 14-6, and this New Orleans team very lethargic in the first half. Unfocused. Cleveland taking full advantage of the 3 turnovers. A great first half of running by William Green. 11 carries, 53 yards. And Dennis Northcutt with that big 36-yard touchdown run on the draw play. And the Browns head into the locker room with a 14-6 lead. We'll be along with Jim Nantz and company after this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports presents the Nextel Halftime Report. Nextel, bringing you wireless solutions.
And we welcome you back. Good to have you with us from our Fifth Avenue studios. The Nextel Halftime Report. Jim Nantz here along with Dan Dion and Boomer. You can join us this Thursday as we present our traditional Thanksgiving Day NFL game with the Lions hosting the Patriots. It all starts at noon Eastern with a special edition of the NFL Today.
Thanksgiving is about family and football.
Pearson to the left side. Richards wide right. Here's Longley. He's going for all the marbles for Pearson. He's off and caught. Touchdown!
It's a first down kick, and it's blocked. It's blocked and rolling around at the 10-yard line. Jimmy Jones got the block and no.
And that, a reminder, that's coming your way Thanksgiving Day here on CBS. New England against the Lions, and it all gets started at 12 noon Eastern time. Meanwhile, Cleveland down in New Orleans. Dion was down in New Orleans this week. I don't know, were the Saints distracted by you've been down there on campus? What's happened here to New Orleans in the first half?
I am a lucky charm, but you know what? William Green right here, 11 rushes, 53 yards. The man is looking good. Brooks, 1 interception.
No McAllister, right?
Nah. He's going to be all right. They're going to be all right.
Well, let's take everybody around the league. San Diego down in Miami. They're on to the third quarter there. And by the way, Ricky Williams, over 1,000 on the season with 99 here today.
What would Ray Lucas and JT, they're talking on the sideline. Drew Brees drops back to pass. A little pressure. Zach Thomas picks him off early on. Interception leads to a field goal. Ray Lucas, play action pass. Finds James McKnight. 20-yard touchdown. Yeah. Puts him up 10-3 right there.
All right, Buffalo and the Jets. Another big performance on the ground that's coming from Curtis Martin, over 100. And the Jets really on strong here today.
Also getting interceptions from Drew Bledsoe. This is Sam Garnes making his first of the year. And then here's John Hall kicking a field goal, but Chris Watson runs into him. He's called for running into the kicker. Give the Jets the ball back. And they take it all the way down to the 1-yard line. And here's Lamont Jordan going in for the score. Chad Pennington's playing well. But if you're a Jet fan, it's all about Curtis Martin. And when Curtis Martin is playing well, all you have to do is fake the ball to him, as Chad does right here. Rolls to his right. Where is the defense? Dion. They're asleep. Lavernius Cole's 11-yard touchdown pass, and young quarterback's doing great. But here is Travis Henry just seconds ago. A 1-yard touchdown pass run for the Buffalo Bills. Get it back to 24-9. And I guess they'll kick the extra point here to make it 24-10.
Yeah, extra point to come there, and the kick is good.
Yep.
All right, New England with 3 Brady touchdown passes in the first half, 2 of them to Christian Fourier. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh was up 17-0 on Cincinnati, and the Bengals showing some fight and some life here today, boy.
They really are, but how about Cordell Stewart? He's in for the injured Tommy Maddox, finds Hines Ward. He goes 64 yards down the sideline. You know, Cordell Stewart and Jerome Bettis, who already has a touchdown run in this game, love playing against the Bengals. But here's Corey Dillon off the right side. Touchdown run. Bengals are fighting, guys. They're 1-9, but you know what? There's no quitting these Tigers.
Atlanta and Carolina. Falcons already shut them out once this year, 30-0. This makes it 58-0 in 6 quarters. Vic over 200 yards and a touchdown. The Titans and the Ravens on to the 3rd quarter. Only 1 touchdown in the game so far. Special teams.
Ed Reed right here blocks the kick, picks it up, goes in for 11-yard touchdown. He's excited. Didn't celebrate too soon. Steve McNair drops back. Drew Bennett right there, cuts back inside. Nice play by Drew Bennett. Goes down to the 5-yard line. On the next play, Steve McNair drops back. You can't make mistakes like this. You expect to win the game. Throws an interception to Bart Scott. And the Ravens up 10-6.
You know, the Kansas City Chiefs have outscored the Cowboys in the 4th quarter alone. Chief points. Cowboys' lowest scoring team in the league, but they lead at 7-5.
Chad Hutchinson back to passing. Paul, Sugar, and Spicer on the strip for the safety. And you got Chad Hutchinson dropping back. He's already connected with Galloway once. He goes to him again. This time, 43-yard sprint by Galloway in for the touch. It's a barn burner. 7-2.
7-5.
7-5.
And here's an immediate update seconds ago. Stephen Davis in for the 2nd time today, and the extra point is good. Washington over the Rams, 14-10. It was 10-0.
Why are you smiling, Jim?
Well, Boomer and I picked him on the NFL today. Warner comes back, by the way, completes his first 15. Bears 7-3 on a Chandler touchdown pass to Robinson in the first half.
That game on TV?
That is.
Somewhere?
We got it right there for you.
Oh, it is. Okay, I didn't know it was on TV.
Thanks for being with us, folks, on the Nextel Halftime Report.
CBS Sports presents the Nextel Halftime Report. Nextel, bringing you wireless solutions.